Hi everyone. My name is Richard Tumila, and I am honored to be here with you today. With my experience as a former supervisor and Rincon administrator at SI Group, I have witnessed firsthand the critical role that behavioral safety plays in fostering a secure and productive work environment. Behavioral safety focuses on identifying and reinforcing safe behaviors while addressing at-risk actions before they lead to incidents. It is not just about policies and procedures but about cultivating a culture where safety becomes second nature, where every individual takes personal responsibility for their well-being and that of their colleagues. During my tenure, I worked extensively on implementing safety initiatives that encouraged open communication, proactive hazard identification, and continuous improvement. Through leadership, coaching, and engagement, we saw a significant shift in workplace attitudes toward safety, proving that small behavioral changes can lead to major improvements in overall safety performance. Today, I am eager to share insights on how organizations can effectively integrate behavioral safety principles into daily operations, ensuring not only compliance but a truly safety-conscious workforce. I look forward to engaging with you all, learning from your experiences, and working together to enhance safety standards in our workplaces. The following slides are very much important if you want to run your organization safely and efficiently. Let's move to the next slide, safety cycle. The safety cycle consists of various stages that impact injury rates and workplace actions. Lower and upper limit of injury rate. Every workplace has a natural fluctuation in injury rates. When rates are high, action is taken, but when they drop, complacency can set in. Action and withdrawal. Safety initiatives often follow a reactive cycle. Actions are taken when incidents rise, but focus may diminish when incidents decrease, leading to potential future risks. Let's move to the next slide. What happens when you have fewer injuries? Fewer injuries indicate an improvement in workplace safety culture, but it can also lead to challenges such as complacency and reduced vigilance, overconfidence in existing safety measures, reduction in safety initiatives and training efforts. The importance of maintaining safety focus despite low injury rates. Let's move to the next slide, the accident iceberg. Accidents are just the visible part of a larger problem. The iceberg model includes visible factors, which are fatalities, lost time, recordable incidents, and first aid cases. Underlying factors, which are unsafe conditions, at-risk behaviors, system and procedural failures, and exposure to hazards. The following are the two approaches to safety. Reactive, which means addressing incidents after they happen. Proactive, that is preventing incidents by focusing on behaviors and conditions. Let's move to the next slide, a behavior, which is an observable act. Behavioral safety focuses on what can be observed and measured. This includes identifying unsafe acts and reinforcing safe behaviors. Understanding how habits, motivation, and workplace culture influence actions. Promoting consistent safety behaviors through training and reinforcement. Let's move to the next slide, the three types of behavior, which are enabled, difficult and non-enabled. Enabled behavior. Enabled behaviors are actions supported by proper resources, training, and safety culture. Difficult behavior. Difficult behaviors are actions hindered by workplace conditions, lack of resources, or conflicting demands. Non-enabled behavior. These are behaviors that cannot be performed safely due to inadequate support or structural barriers. Let's move to the next slide, barriers to safe performance. These are common obstacles that hinder safe behavior that include lack of training and awareness, inadequate leadership support, poorly designed work processes, time pressures and production demands, complacency and overconfidence. Here are examples of each barrier to safe performance. Personal factor. This is an example of a worker dealing with stress at home and is distracted while operating machinery, increasing the risk of an accident. Hazard recognition and response. An example of an employee's failing to notice a small oil spill on the floor, leading to a slip and fall incident. Business systems. This is when a company prioritizes production speed over safety checks, leading to frequent workplace injuries. Culture. These is an example of a workplace where employees avoid reporting near misses because they fear being blamed or punished. Rewards and recognition. This is when a company rewards workers for completing tasks quickly but does not acknowledge safe behavior, encouraging risky shortcuts. Facilities and equipment. A manufacturing plant continues using outdated, faulty machines because replacing them is considered too costly. Disagreement on safe practices. An example of one employee insisting that wearing a hard hat is unnecessary, while another argues that it's a required safety measure, creating conflict and inconsistency in enforcement. Let's move to the next slide, the 4 elements of BAPP technology, behavioral accident prevention process. This is to identify critical behaviors that determine which behaviors contribute most to workplace safety. Gather data, which means you have to observe, record, and analyze safety behaviors to identify trends. Use data to remove barriers, which means the data that you have collected, you need to address obstacles that prevent safe practices. Provide feedback, offer reinforcement and coaching to encourage safe behaviors. Let's move to the next slide, ABC analysis, which are antecedent, behavior and consequences. A framework for understanding behavioral safety. Antecedent, triggers or events that prompt a behavior. This is what comes before a person behaves. Behavior, the action taken by an individual, which is an observable act. Consequences, the outcomes that reinforce or discourage the behavior. Effective safety programs modify antecedents and consequences to encourage safe behaviors and discourage at-risk actions. Let's move to the next slide. Does consequences control behavior? Yes, consequences control behavior because they determine whether an individual will repeat or avoid a specific action in the future. In behavioral safety, consequences influence workplace habits and decision-making. How consequences control behavior. Positive consequences reinforce safe behavior. When employees receive immediate praise or rewards for following safety protocols, they are more likely to repeat the behavior. Example, a worker who gets recognized for consistently wearing PPE will continue to do so. Negative consequences discourage unsafe behavior. If an unsafe action leads to disciplinary action or injury, employees will avoid it in the future. Example, a worker who receives a warning for bypassing a safety guard will think twice before doing it again. Sooner, certain, and positive consequences are most effective. Sooner, meaning, immediate feedback has a stronger impact than delayed consequences. Certain, if consequences are inconsistent, employees may ignore safety rules. Positive, meaning rewarding safe behavior is more effective than punishing unsafe behavior. So, by using consistent, timely, and positive reinforcement, organizations can shape a strong safety culture where safe behaviors become habits. Let's move to the next slide. Does antecedents influence behavior only to the extent that they accurately predict consequences? The answer is yes, antecedents influence behavior only to the extent that they accurately predict consequences. In behavioral safety, antecedents, such as training, signs, or instructions, set the stage for behavior, but their true effectiveness depends on the consequences that follow. How antecedents and consequences work together. Antecedents alone are not enough. Simply telling employees to wear PPE or putting up safety signs does not guarantee compliance. Example, a wear your hard hat sign may be ignored if there are no consequences, positive or negative, for following or disregarding the rule. Consequences drive behavior change. If employees experience immediate and consistent consequences, they are more likely to follow the behavior prompted by the antecedent. Example, if supervisors regularly recognize and reward employees for wearing PPE, compliance increases. Conversely, if there are penalties for non-compliance, employees are more likely to follow the rule. If an antecedent reliably predicts a certain consequence, employees will respond accordingly. Example, if a worker knows that failing to complete a pre-shift safety checklist will always result in corrective action, they are more likely to do it consistently. Antecedents, rules, training, reminders, only work when paired with meaningful and consistent consequences. If there is no follow-through, behavior change will not be sustained. Let me conclude by saying, behavioral safety is essential for fostering a proactive safety culture. By understanding behaviors, addressing barriers, and using data-driven strategies, organizations can significantly reduce workplace incidents and ensure a safer working environment. Consistency, reinforcement, and employee engagement are key to long-term success in safety initiatives. My name is Richard Tumila once again. Thank you for hosting me.